I did it again. I did it again. I needed to click live. Idiot. I've been speaking for like 5 minutes. Oh my God, the things I've been telling you for 5 full minutes straight. But you need to hit that button up there on the screen that says go live. I am now a master at this. Go live, yeah, of course. Right, okay. So we're going to start this again, couple of minutes. It's always a strange few minutes at the start of any stream because you're wondering, am I going live? Am I out? What is happening? So if you can do me a huge favor, just for my own reassurance, for my own mental sanity's sake, leave a comment down below. Tell me where you are watching from. Where in the world are you watching from? I'm glad I discovered that nice and early because like I've been talking for an hour and God, I dread to think. I need this. So tonight we're drinking Northern Monk Faith Hazy Pale Ale, 5%. Delicious. Delicious. Happy Heresy Day, everyone. The advent of 3.0 is upon us. Now, whether you think this is a good thing or a bad thing, it's a joyous occasion for some. On the other hand, might be entrenched in 2.0. I would suggest, if you are looking at a back edition, look at 1.0 instead, the Bible. That for me is the peak edition of Heresy. But I have high hopes for this edition, and I really want to get into the mechanics and play more than 5 games, which I think I managed in the last edition. And this time around, I want to run a drop pod list. I have a Justarian army. I've ordered some Reavers. Hopefully you can hear that in the background, got some live music as well. I've ordered some Reavers. I want to do a First Company Sons of Horus list. For this, I have ordered a couple of these beefy boys. Got a couple of Dreadclaws in my collection. Look how gorgeous that is. Now the biggest drawback of a Dreadclaw are these spokes, because transporting these things is a nightmare. Normal drop pods, not too bad, but these things, absolute bloody nightmare. Unless you magnetize them. Look at that. I'm able to slip it in. Beautiful. Look at that. So it makes it a lot easier to transport. So I've got 2 of those. And then in anticipation of 3.0, because I didn't know what the rules would bring, I bought a Charybdis as well. Big. So 1.0, this was the vehicle to bring Horus down in. But drop pod lists have changed a lot in this new edition. You can only bring down 1 a turn, and I think it starts on turn 2 or 3, which is kind of neutered the idea I've had for the initial list. But I'm going to roll with the punches. I'm going to roll with it anyway. I'm just going to barrel straight into it. But why are we here tonight? Well, tonight, my friends, we are looking at how to paint cold skin tones. A bit like a cold beer. So we're going to look at how we paint cold skin tones and how to get the most from them. A lot of students, when they come on board for the first time, they have a set skin recipe. It could be something as simple as like a simple preset recipe, something like pink flesh, golden skin, basic flesh, whatever that is, but a set recipe from a company. But what happens when you want to paint Night Lords or Raven Guard or a vampire? That skin recipe that you've been dialed up, that you've been grass-fed, won't do anything for you. So tonight we're looking at how we get the most from our skin tones. And again, huge favor if I can ask it, let me know where you're watching this from in the comments below. Otherwise I'm just going to keep looking down the comments and I'm going to be going crazy. Right, okay, so let's have a look at, wrong screen. Okay, so we've got a couple of images to start our discussion. We have the Keeper of Secrets from Games Workshop. Now this is the official color scheme for the Slaanesh range. I'm not exactly sure how they paint this, but we don't need to know the exact recipe to retroactively disseminate or discuss it. So we can see here, there's a lot of grays in the tone that bleeds out into a purple on the arms. And even then, it is a very desaturated, a very grayed out purple. It's not a huge saturated purple that screams, look at me. No, this is a skin tone that has been drained of its essence, that's been drained of its potency. And the main pip of interest, the main pop, the main highlight, the saturation, the color, the potency of it, comes in the surrounding areas. It comes in the form of the cloak, the hair. You'll notice all the saturated areas are framing the miniature. Framing it. Oh, got a fly here. Right, so let's gear up number 2. We've got to keep her secrets, get rid of her. Now this is where it gets a bit not safe for work. Not too much, I'm not showing you anything bad, but right, we have possibly my favourite piece of Slaaneshi art. I believe this is done by Adrian Smith for the 3.5 Codex, Chaos Codex, that was subsequently coloured, I believe. But we can start to detect a trend. Black, silver armour, big fan of. But then when we look at the surrounding area, look at all that saturation, look at all the colour we get. It's a bit like me at the moment. I mean, I'm the most saturated thing, but you put like purple tones around it, that's where you can start to throw into contrast the unhealthiness of the pallor of the skin tone. So even though this is quite, for Slaanesh, a saturated skin tone, there's pinks, there's bits of blue in there, it's still on the whole an unhealthy skin tone. So we start to detect a theme, or we can bring out commonalities in our research. That the skin tone is quite often drained of colour, of life, of essence. As if the excesses of the character in the environment it sits is draining its life force. Kind of fitting, right? Okay, and then another piece of artwork which we have here. I believe this was a fan piece of artwork. I don't think this is a Games Workshop official, or it might be a like a role-playing game. What do we detect again? Big saturated colours surrounding the characters, but for the skin tone themselves, even the podgy little fella on the floor, it's quite greyed out. The only saturation is the reflected fire underneath him. But look at the skin tone of the demonette. Yep, it certainly gets more saturated on the edges, but greyed out white. Now this is where we encounter our big problem. If you paint desaturated skin tones, if you paint skin tones that are drained of colour, a Night Lord, described as paper white skin, Raven Guard, same issue. How do we make them look interesting? How do we make those skin tones look interesting? Well, hopefully we can explore that concept together with a little bit of pre-made footage I've got loaded up for you. Okay, let's have a look-see at the colours that we lay down first. Okie dokie, here we go. Let's pop it down. So we have a grey violet to begin with. We also have another darker grey violet on our palette. We're using a khaki tone that has slightly more yellow applied to it, and then a very light pinky skin tone. So this is the, hold on, let me pause it here. So this is our value scale that we're working from right now, from darkest to lightest. Grey, desaturated colours. But how can we produce a punchy interest in the skin tone? We have to underlie it, we have to undercut it with a colour. All of our interest comes from colour. We can control it with our use of saturation. We can have big, punchy, ballsy colours surrounding it, but the desaturated tones, how do you desaturate a colour? You add black, white, or variations of grey, or use its complementary colour. In this case, we're very heavily leaning on black and white, variations of grey. Okay, convincing reality. Do similar principles, got a little heart surrounding it. Do similar principles apply for different skin tones? No, they do not. So the more saturated your skin tone, say if you want a nice sunny skin tone. So I'm painting up a piece at the moment. Let's bring this up. Okay, let's transfer screen. Oh, switch it. There we go. So we have a barbarian sculpt I'm working on. Big, bright, ballsy, saturated skin tones, lots of oranges, lots of violets, but precious few normal skin tones, like basic skin. There's nothing basic about this miniature, and there shouldn't be anything basic about your miniature painting either. To contrast this, I can use desaturated tones surrounding it. And you can almost create a game with miniature painting. So we have saturated tones here, warm, vibrant tones. we can add more desaturated tones surrounding it, and then we can punch up the saturation in other areas. So no, it is not a universal principle at all. Unfortunately. There you go, let's switch over to me. Yeah, it's not a universal principle. If you did want more feedback, if you want color recipes, there are a boatload, because that's how we measure these things, by the boatload already available on the Patreon. Sorry, this is the sales pitch. And so up on screen right now, you can see the Dark Angel Praetor Part 1 is available right now, as well as nearly 8 years worth of materials. When it comes to desaturated skin tones, a slightly different level of principle applies. For more saturated skin tones, we want to use more brighter, bold colors for it. And we can undercut this, we can contrast this with desaturated colors. In this case, unhealthy pallor, desaturate, rob it of its potency. So this is our color palette as it stands. So this is our basic principle, darkest to lightest. Now applying a zenithal principle, a zenithal light on top, will give you a good framework to start building your paint job on top of. And guys, if you do have any questions whatsoever, it doesn't have to be about this, it can be about anything whatsoever. Punch in, otherwise I'm going to be talking to myself for about an hour. Right, let's get on to the next video. Okay, I thought you might want to see me converting them a little bit. So this is, let's drag this across. So this is the cacophony. Ascended cacophony, as I call them, or noise marines. So in this case, what I really dearly wanted to do is to present a much more beaten up, ruined version of the noise marines. Noise marines that have been driven to such excesses that the armor's starting to shatter around them with just the sonic weaponry. The kits are based from the Galvo back set from Forge World, as well as these came as a godsend, the new Cacophony, the new Sonic Marine set. Noise Marine, the new Noise Marine miniatures, because they've been slightly upscaled, they fit beautifully on these miniatures. For the most part, it was it's as simple as just cutting them up and applying and gluing them on. Using a big, so this is Tamiya Quick Type putty to put itself on there that I've resculpted. Now those veins, they come from Zinj Industries, like the copper wiring that you can find on there. So that's just if you want a full tutorial on this, it is available on the Patreon right now, but I thought it was worth doing a brief introduction to it. And this is the Marine as it currently stands, as they look. So any odd areas I couldn't quite fill in with putty, I used the cables to do the heavy lifting for me. Okie dokie, let's see if there's any, okay, here we go. So we have our first miniature. Now you'll notice I'm applying my dark violet color into the shadows. Let's pause this and see how big we can make this. There we go, okay. Sorry, we cut out there. Okay, so what we're looking for with this is the enabling the shadows. We need to pop those shadows in hard. So make sure we're back up and running before I continue. Yeah, we're good. We're back up and running. So we want to make sure we pop those shadows in. I'm not a big believer in using a universal base coat and then like moving in and out between it. So what the hell do I mean by that? I want to apply the shadows to the shadows, mid-tone to mid-tone, highlight to highlight. I don't paint the skin in one color and then add shadows or glaze down. Instead, I'll go big, I'll go punchy, I'll go ballsy, shadow to shadow, mid-tone to mid-tone, highlight to highlight. At the end of this process, it does look quite cell shaded, like cell animated. But that's where the glazing comes in. So you can see I'm coming in with my lighter gray ivory tone, so my lighter, gray violet tone. Popping that in there. If you do have any questions, now is the time. Where are we all watching this from? We had a varied audience last time. We had Netherlands, America. wonder what the most unusual place, what the most exotic place from beautiful Swansea, South Wales is. I wonder. So this is the grey violet I'm applying into the mid-tone. The brush I'm using, it might be a little bit unusual, or you might not see this too much. Now, this brush doesn't give me any magical powers. It doesn't make me a better miniature painter. You do not need to run out and buy this brush. It's not the new hotness. So this is known as an almond shaped brush, and you can get this through Rosemary & Co. Oh God, what the hell were they called? Broken Toad. That's what I was looking for. Broken Toad used to sell a brush like this called the Spearhead, but unfortunately they're no longer trading. I liked using it and I missed it, so I found ththese replacements from Rosemary & Co. It's the series 66 if you're looking for it. I just vibe with the brush. I could do nice big sweeping general base coats with it. I can use the tip of it for really fine detail. So I've run up the value scale now. I'm plotting my top highlights in. And you can see how harsh the transition is between the shadow and mid-tone highlight. I'm not trying to blend at all at this stage. This stage is all about big, bold, punchy, flavorful grays. So this is what I'm developing right now. 14 viewers, my God. I think my maximum is 20. That's my record. I wonder whether we can break that tonight. Whether we can smash a hit on that like button if you can. Oh, we're almost up to 10,000 followers as well, which is pretty cool. I heard something cool happens when you reach 10K. I don't know what, perhaps you get like a power boost or something. But it'd be cool to hit that number. I'll let you know when we do. On the live feed, we'll do some kind of sell. I'll bring poppers. Not those kind of poppers. No. I know it's a Slanesh themed live stream, but we're not going that extreme with it. No, we're not making that. I want to keep the monetization of this as much as possible. We're not making that. I'm already flying quite close to the wind with this. Okay, so we've got our lighter skin tone. Elf flesh or any kind of like light bright skin tone would be ideal at this stage. Right at the very tippy top, and you can see just how little blending there is. It is completely and utterly cell shaded, cell animated, but you can see very aggressively the progression from shadow to light. And you can see this brush, like the tip of the brush, gives me a really nice sharp point to it. I think this is a size 2 as well. It's not a particularly small one. I do have an affiliate link with Rosemary & Co. I think it might be down below, but don't worry about using that. You don't. So I've decided at this stage to add some like gnarly grain effects along the side. I'm not sure whether I wanted to make those full-blown veins later on, but I like the idea of just sketching in those lines to it. If you do use this tutorial on anything, I would love to see it. Tag me in any post that you use or anything that you pop online. Okay, so this is it. After this stage, let's move on to the next portion. Okay, let's pause this because this is kind of important. This is when we start to glaze. Stop. Hold on, video. Let's go back. I'm not going to cheat you. Okay, so we have our value scale established at this stage. Let's go back. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Value scale established. Pretty easy stuff. Zip it along. Okay, so let's take a closer look. I think this is slightly out of order. Okay, let's go back to this. Okay, so we can see our value scale. Oh, come on, you. Right, okay, let's enlarge this bad boy. Okay. We have our value scale, darkest to lightest. And you can see how I've used them down below. Now, what we need to do is take our shadow and lower mid-tone, combine them 50-50, and create a glaze. Now, whenever I create a glaze, I seldomly use pure water, because acrylic thinner will help break up the colorant, so you can thin your paint down while keeping this potency. Always a good idea to have that. Okay, so once we've worked up our value scale, once we've established the strength and the movement of the tones, hopefully I can, yep, there we go. So I'm moving my brush. You can see how I've done my thinning on the palette. That's another very important point. I don't want to do the thinning as I apply it to the miniature, or I don't want to thin the paint and take it straight onto the miniature. You might have had that in the past, like really thin paint. You apply it to your miniature, it just blobs everywhere. No good. To avoid this, bleed off excess moisture first. It's so important to do that stage. Okay, let's see how we can apply this to our miniature. So let's move this along a little bit. Okay, this is me. Oh, this is a scene much later on. Okay, that's what it will end up looking like. Okay, here's the glaze. Here's what I wanted to show you. Right, let me start this again. So we're going to build up to our glaze consistency. We have shadow, lower mid-tone, upper mid-tone, highlight. Very strong transitional tones. We got 16 viewers. 16 viewers, come on, let's hit 20. Okay, now my aim is to collapse these layers. Let's see whether we can do like a little demonstration on here. So we have, so if we think of a ball, we have shadow, lower mid-tone, upper mid-tone, highlight. So we have these really, really strong colors. Now the aim of the glaze is to come in to these intermediary layers and kind of do this. We're doing this with the brush stroke. We're glazing up, then we're glazing down, glazing up, glazing down, and we're kind of moving it, the brush, in this movement. So we want to use the darkest tone and then the second darkest tone combined, 50-50 as a glaze. And then we're moving our brush gently. You often just need the tip of the brush to help collapse these layers. And then you can do the same here, but with our lower mid-tone and upper mid-tone, and then highlight the same thing. And every time you do this, it helps soften the edges of your transition. You retain the potency of the transition from shadow to light, but you help soften it, making you look like a glazing master. Okay, let's become glazing masters. Let's glaze together. I bet that means something else. If you look at it online, I bet that means something else. Okay, so you can see how I'm using the movement of the brush. I'm moving it in context with the big bulbous head. It's not just a straight up and down movement. This is a three-dimensional object. It is a sphere that I'm trying to render. Okay. See, I'm just using the tip of my brush. And it doesn't really look like I'm doing much right now. It's the paint kind of looks like dirty water. It's not these. So students often say this is a believe layer. Oh, sorry, I'm moving around an awful lot. Let me pause this before the next one. Okay, good. So students think of this like a believe layer, and trying to get new students to glaze that, to thin their paints to this degree, is a little bit difficult. Because when you put it on the miniature, it doesn't look like you do anything at first, but it's the second, the third, the fourth, subsequent layers. That's where we get the potency of it. That's where you start. That's when you start to get the transitions. And the believe layer, I mean, faith, right? You've got to have faith. I'm not sure I like that. Okay. A little bit more glazing. So anybody in the chat have difficulties with their own glazing, difficulty with their own brush technique? I'm here to answer your questions. I'm here for you. To get a little bit, and the reason why I do this live is like I like interaction with the chat. So if you have any questions, let me know where you're from. Let me know if you've picked up Heresy 3.0. Let me know if you hate it and you just bought it to burn it, or you're burning all your own collections. Okay, here we go. So you can see how I'm moving the brush, just tapping it almost, tap, tap, in and out, in and out, in and out, with the tip of that brush. Okay, that's the end of that clip, I guess. Okay, let's have a look at the next one. Okay, let's pause it to make sure I'm not moving it around constantly, because I can understand that is a little bit disorientating. Okay, let's bring this in. Okay, we ready? I can't remember what I do here. It might be more glazing. No, glazing like this is horrendous to edit because it's not the most interesting of things to watch, because the glazes I use, it took me around 3 to 4 minutes, which doesn't sound like much. But when you're watching paint dry for 3 to 4 minutes, it can be a bit tough. But unfortunately, this is the kind of process that you need to get to a better painting standard. You have to do the boring things, the things that don't trigger the dopamine receptors in your mind, because we're all dopamine addled right now thanks to Instagram. I'm part of the problem. But we're all fried just as a society. All our brains have turned to mush. Let's mush them up even more. Oh yeah, at this stage I want to include some veins. So I think this is Inky Darkness or Coal Black. Some kind of, I might have had turquoise on my palette and I added black to it. Tip of the brush, nice little feathery lines. I made sure to add some thinner into it as well to make sure it flows off the brush nicely. Already we're starting to see like how grayed out, bleached of color it is, but looks interesting nonetheless. How have we done that? It's the underlying colors that, I'm going to use that phrase again, sorry, that underpin the gray that we're using. This is Saturday night and the studio is above 2 bars and an Indian curry house. So I'm keeping my eye out for the local wildlife. I also, 2 groups of men getting a fight earlier. That was cool. Just before I went live, I wasn't going to be brave enough to lean out the window and tell them to stop, because I don't want them throwing stuff at my studio. But I did worry whether we'd have like a cacophonous argument outside, like a boxing match, a street fight outside the studio when I was narrating this. I guess it would have been exciting, get the heart rate pumping. Have you ever painted a miniature in the midst of a fight before? That would be an interesting thing to look at. Okay, so even the highlights, I'm going back to my top highlights, it is still the same consistency as the glaze. Moving, I've added those big, bold transitional layers. Those are layer consistency. And the layer consistency is, I'm trying to make it more coherent on the Patreon. So thank you to the friends at Redgrass Games. Base layer is 3 portions paint to 1 portion thinner. So there we go, so saith the grey board. Of course, there's a multiplicity of variants in that statement. Whenever you say anything declarative as a miniature painter, there's always someone out there that will say the exact opposite or correct you, and they are equally right as well, which is a problem with art. It's so slippery, the concepts. Okay. So I'm going to build up those angle lines. I'm really trying to express the lines around his eyes, top of his head, the snarl of his face. Oof. Ugly. Ugly, ugly face. And you can see with every subsequent stroke of the brush, it becomes more defined. We are building on the basis of our original light placement. Okay, let's zip this along, because I do a lot of this. So this runs for another 4 minutes. My God. So this glazing took a lot longer than I initially thought. Should we sit here for the full 4 minutes? Do you want to watch the full 4 minutes? This is always a curiosity to me, okay? When you're watching a tutorial like this, would you prefer the full unvarnished editorial pitch, even if it takes 15 hours to see the entire thing, me glazing this face? Or do you appreciate the sped up edited versions? Because this is a constant battle I have with myself in the editorial suite. How much stuff should I show for it to be worthwhile? I know some students like the full lot. They want to see every single scintilla of paintwork as is applied. But other people want the transference of knowledge, and they just want the guide in as concise and as well edited a manner as possible. So I'm wondering where you lie on the spectrum here. I think for myself, I probably prefer unedited. I'm making more work for myself saying that. So I can skip along it, I can find out, okay, never mind me, I've added more purple into the mixture. Let's see whether we can capture that on camera. So let's go back a little bit, okay. Right, so this is where I come in with the magenta. Right, got a little bit of magenta on the palette. Like this is where we want to look out for. Oh, an ad has come up. Oh no. I wonder if we're still with me. 19 viewers. No, we one away from, well, 2 away from breaking our record. Okay, there we go. Bang. Oh, what am I doing there? Adding violet into the tone. We come to the point where we can express even more interest in it. Just at the beginning, we had to look at the demonette and how the skin tone's starting to bleed into this unnatural purple. Now is the time of this marine to suffer a similar fate. So I wanted to make it seem like the skin around his voxcaster, I guess it's called, like his boombox shoved into his face, was infected and inflamed. But I didn't want to upset the color balance by adding pure red, so instead I used magenta to give it the impression it had been inflamed, but it's been there for so long, that infection, the skin has kind of started to harden around it. Same thing with the horns on the top of his head. But I hope you can notice it's not like really strong. It's not like leaping out at you like, oh, look at me, I'm using magenta. No, because I've mixed in with the base tone, everything has an equilibrium. Everything has its own place in space and time. Convincing reality. It's nice to get a realistic notion of the pace of the process, but a more bullet point style video does have its usefulness. For the most part, I do produce a more edited version. That's why the live streams are so great. I can kind of like do it live as we go, and I can chat to my audience of 21. We've smashed it. We've smashed the record. 21 people. I wonder how high does this run? How high does this go? I wonder. God, could we even breach 30? 30 people? Start watching on multiple things, like on your iPad, on your computer screen. I don't know why. Well, I guess it's not that important, but it's just a nice thing to have. Okay, so popping in the details of the eyes. I feel like I've done the skin at this point, and you start to lose the sculpt after a while. It starts to become, how to describe it? You can't see the wood for the trees. So I like adding black into the eyes, adding white, and it gives me a clearer definition on the heading of it, whether I need to refine the skin tone more, whether I need more veins. What do I want to do? Okay, so I've decided, okay, so the skin tone needs a little bit more punch, a little bit more potency. So that's exactly what I've done here. By adding sort of like that framework around it, I can detect the errors. Another great tip I can give you is taking photographs of your miniatures regularly. That way, and it's something to do with like the degree of separation that you have. You're able to analyze your miniatures a lot more aggressively, just a lot easier from like that separation point. What are we all drinking tonight, if anything? Squash, whiskey, Faith. I'm drinking Faith from Northern Monk. So little refinements here, little touches here and there, just to bring it up. And again, putting this stuff in tutorials is so difficult because it's okay. Here's a little secret for you, for my watchers. People like seeing the initial stages of tutorials, the airbrush stages, the slap chop stages, where things come together very, very quickly. And you can kind of fool yourself into thinking you're making progress by doing that. I do it myself. At this stage, let me show you this. I have Night Lord's miniature that I thought was doing quite well. I thought I was barreling through this. I've hit a little bit of a obstacle now because I have to pop in the metallics. I have to do the detailing work. I have to put in the hard yards with this. Same with this Ultramarine, Saturnine Terminator. When you're airbrushing it, everything goes down so quickly. Everything is so sweet. But then when it comes to do the detailing, when it comes to do the hard yards, people don't necessarily want to see that or even do that. So these little minute changes at the very end of the process, that's what will divide a good paint job from a great paint job. And maybe if you put enough of those little details in, a legendary paint job. So this is the skin tone as it's ended up. All these little minute changes in tone and hue, the reconstruction of the shadows, just these tiny little minute changes make such a big difference. This is the piece again. So that's where we've ended up with it. And I've painted 3, 4 of them at this stage, all using similar principles. So this piece, for example, let's replay that. At the end of the process, I've decided to apply a little bit more purple. Can we get this? There we go. So a little bit more purple because that face is tortured, is extended, is ripped apart. So using a magenta brown, something in the region of a like African shadow from scale 75, something along those lines, gives it that tortured, stretched, ripped appearance. What's this one? Okay, that's another one. Let me show you. I think. No, wrong one. There we go. So that's another one. And the reference point for this is actually a jellyfish. But jellyfish are translucent, so how the hell can you translate this to a non-translucent surface? It's mainly to do with the texture. When you look at a jellyfish, you can kind of detect the outline of the texture of its membrane, its skin, whatever it's called. I try to replicate that with my brush strokes, like lots of dabbing, almost using like a staining technique. So when you load up your brush with paint and water, you put on the miniature, it blobs everywhere, it stains. Fuck. What do I do now? That could be your friend, it could be your enemy. In this case, I decided to use it as a friend. So I added that tiny amount of overly diluted paint on the tip of the brush, dotted on the surface. Before it's fully dried, I can manipulate it into a pleasing shape. And I just did that over and over and over again, till we ended up with something like this. Lots of texture, lots of membranous details, as well as adding that like lurid pink underneath. Okay, we are rapidly coming to the end of this. If you have anything you want to ask me, make sure now is the time. Oh, Johan, gravy with ice. Gravy with ice, what the hell is that? Oh. Cider, go Gotrut. Oh, chin chin. So what skin tones are you guys painting at the moment? You having any issues with it? Don't know whether I should be opening that discussion right now. Can you hear that sound in the background? The live singing. It's dreadful, absolutely dreadful. If you're in the UK, if you fancy a visit to the studio, please hit me up. Towards Christmas time, we are opening. We're having an open house here. But the next, oh no, I can't, so the next course sold out a couple of days ago. It's painting Horus Lupercal. Cannot wait. Oh, and this is the studio that we're in. Look at this. Look at all the space that we have. What space we have for activities. I'd love to host you here. Oh my gosh. Ryo, with that being said, my friends, my future lovers, thank you so much for joining me. I hope you got something from that. If you'd like more tutorials on this and many a diverse subject, especially concerning the Horus Heresy or how to become a better miniature painter in general, please consider signing up to the Patreon. Dive in, 8 years worth of materials. We have a wonderful Discord community, so supportive to help you along your journey, point out previous tutorials, and help us all become better miniature painters, because at the end of the day, and it is the end of the day, so I'm using that appropriately, isn't that what we all want? Maybe not. £1 billion would be great for me, but I'm going to leave it here tonight. Thanks so much.